Hi guys, it's Emily from Australian Frugal here, back with a beef bone broth and a chicken stock / broth base that I'm making for my fridge and my freezer so that I have them on hand, and these cost very little money. The beef bone broth is going to be used in pho that I'm making, and it's always good to have chicken stock and broth in the freezer ready for when you need it. Usually I use just leftover chicken carcasses from when I make roast chicken, but I actually found some chicken frames super duper cheap at the butcher's and figured I'd do a big stock up because I don't have any at the moment. So what I've done is I've got 2 big pots on the stove, one for each of my bases. I've added a large onion and 1 carrot, including the ends, because we're only keeping the liquid from these, so might as well get the most bang for our buck. I'm adding a ton of garlic. I'll add a ton of salt and a ton of pepper to both bases. You have to remember these are big pots. These are both 5.5 litre pots. So we're adding a lot of water, and a lot of flavor is going to come out of these bones and in the next few hours. So we need to add that, and that really helps to bring out the flavor. So now I'm just going to caramelize the onion, the garlic, and the carrots. Now I do this for when I do my broth stocks and my soups. I put the hard root vegetables in with the onions and the garlic when I'm caramelizing them to sort of start the process of cooking those harder vegetables earlier, but also all of that nice caramelized brown color that we're getting, and you'll see I'm getting it really brown. That's flavor. That brown stuff is flavor, and you'll see later as I add the water in how dark the stock's already looking before I've even added the meat or anything. So yeah, I'm just going to break this up with my spoon, and you'll see at the moment I'm using the same spoon for both because at the moment we have the same ingredients, but I do actually have a spoon holder on either side of the stove there, and I'll have a different one for each one so we're not mixing them later. So these are my chicken frames. I got them super cheap. That was a $3 bag for those 4 chicken frames, and they actually have quite a bit of meat on them. I did look at that and think, oh, I could probably cook all this meat off and make another meal from that, but I already had so much to do today, so I was just going to get this done. And I put these on for about 12 hours, although I did have to turn them off a couple of times when I was going out because I never know exactly when I'll be back home and don't want anything to overflow or anything to catch fire while I'm not in the house. So I'm just going to add some bay leaves now to both of these. And I did clean my oven, my stove top, so it's all clean. I'm going to use garlic powder and onion powder. I do have onions in there, I do have garlic in there, but it's just another way to add that flavor. And my onion powder is all clumped together. It's picked up some moisture, so I've just got to break it up with my hands. I'm also washing my hands in between touching the meats and spices, as you'll see. This is pre-chopped frozen celery that I had in my freezer. So when celery is really cheap, like this week celery was 99 cents for a bunch, I'll grab it, I'll cut some up for kids' lunches, and the rest I'll dice up and either use fresh or freeze for when I'm making stocks and soups, because when you cook it anyway, it's going to turn out the same texture. So yeah, I'm adding a fair bit of celery to my chicken base, not in my beef broth though. I find it really adds something to the chicken base, so when I have it, I use it. Now that everything's sort of caramelized on the beef side, I've added 1 load of boiling water to sort of get all of that FOD off the bottom. FOD is the brown stuff that sticks to the bottom of your pot. That is flavor. To get all that off and to sort of start everything going, you'll notice I haven't added any water yet to the chicken. I'm doing that now. I let it sit there for a second and let the chicken sort of heat through and start to brown too. And now I'm adding my boiling water. Now you can just add cold water, but I was in a hurry to get all this started before I had to do school run. I added 2.2 litre kettles worth of boiling water to the chicken, and I'll be doing the same to the beef soon. Now you can see these pieces of bones and how brown they look now, and I'll show you how soft some of the marrow is. You in a second. All that color again is flavor. Just pressing in it to show you sort of how soft it is. And they were only in for maybe 20 minutes. I popped them on and then I got everything else started. I usually do them one side brown and then flip them over and pop them back in for maybe another 5 minutes to make sure. Today I didn't bother just because, like I said, I'm trying to get everything done before I have to make the second school run. Just adding all of these bones in there now. Some nice big joint bones there as well. Alright, and now I am going to add any juices or blood or anything that's left on that piece of baking paper, because again, flavor. Add some leftover thyme I had from a HelloFresh box. I do actually end up adding a little bit of thyme to the chicken one as well, a bit later on. And I just start moving these bits around and I'm smelling it and making sure that nothing's burning. We want that really rich dark brown flavor, but we don't want it to burn. Now I'm getting the kettle. I'm going to cover those bones completely. I think I only show you me putting one kettle in, but I do go back and boil another one and fill it up some more until it's all the way full, and then put the lid on. Now I've put this on and I've waited maybe half an hour or so for the chicken to bubble. Now on top is this gritty looking foam stuff. I remove that with a spoon, scraping it off, and that helps with the flavor and taking out any impurities. At the same time, after I've done that, I've just added some apple cider vinegar to my beef. Alright guys, so here's the finished product. I left those pots on to boil for about 8 hours on and off. I had to turn them off as I left, like I said. And then once I tasted them a few times and adjusted the salt, pepper, and any spices, which was just salt and pepper and garlic, I then turned them off, let them cool down enough that I could strain them into a big pot and then ladle them into these containers here. I didn't take the fat off because I like to have the fat on, and then I can scrape the fat off and use that to caramelize my onions and start the cooking process in the dishes that I'm going to add these stocks and broths to. So each of these green containers is 800 mils, and each of them are almost full to the top, so I'd say there's probably about 700 mils in each, and each one of these will be one meal. So I've got 3 beef and 3 chicken meal bases. So you can see the good color there on that chicken, and then the thin fat layer on top, and you can see the color on this beef, and quite a bit of fat on top of that one. And you got to remember, all of that fat actually came from in the bones, and all that calcium that was released in that marrow and that goodness, and they taste amazing. So once I'd let them cool down, I'd strained them, I ladled them into these containers, then I put each of these containers into my freezer to freeze overnight without the lids on, which is the stage we're at now. Now I'm going to put a little piece of paper in them that says chicken or beef broth and the date, and then I'm going to put the lids on them, stack them neatly in my freezer so they're ready for when I want to use them. And that is how you make beef bone broth and chicken bone broth / stock. Any questions? Don't forget to leave a comment or message me. You can always contact me on Instagram or Facebook. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, send it to somebody else who might. Thanks, guys.